Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, now I have to amend the agenda. Treasurer Bud.
Yeah, I would make a motion to add number 3 to new business, to approve the recommendation from the attorney in connection with pending litigation.
Second?
Support.
Trustee Kelly. I have a motion, I have a second to amend. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? This motion passes. I also am going to take executive privilege on moving SEMCOG ahead of Giffords and Webster later on. All right, so we're moving forward. We've done the consent agenda. We're now into public hearing. We have none. We have not done consent agenda.
No.
Okay, Trustee Boynton, could you make the consent agenda motion?
Sure. I move that we approve the following on the consent agenda. Work study meeting minutes of July 1st, board meeting minutes of July 1st, prepaid lists of July 3rd and 10th, and the voucher list of July 15th, all of 2025.
Kevin,
Oh, and also the approval
full service agreement.
of the personal services agreement,
And give the name.
J. Lawrence.
There you go, perfect. I have support by Clerk Wright. All right, here, it's consent agenda, hearing any discussion, none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? This motion passes. Kevin, we've already shaken your hand. But come on up anyway. Welcome back. Kevin Lawrence is returning as our director, another person that got away from us, so we got back.
My boot later.
Welcome back. Okay. All right. Public hearing, we have none. Correspondence, announcements, and presentations. Is there any correspondence and announcements or presentations by any of the board members? Okay. Trustee Martin, we'll wait a moment for you.
I would like to take this opportunity to offer my condolences to the Brooks family. Officer Ken Brooks was a retired Van Buren Township police officer, captain actually, and he retired from Van Buren and became the court officer at 34th District Court. He passed away suddenly last week. He was also my wife, Judge Lisa Martin's court officer. So I would like, if you could give a moment of silence in his memory.
Of course, moment of silence.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the board who wants to make any announcements?
I do, since
Clerk Wright?
I got Rosemary in attendance today. You might want to write something up regarding this. We had to send, the clerk office had to send out notices to about 100 voters, in regards to a challenge that a homeowner made within his right. He challenged the legitimacy of their right to their vote, their home ownership, whether they would have residency where they said they lived. This is something that he went off the list from we call it a non-legitimate list that we don't use. The state goes, we use the state listing when regards to whether someone is eligible to vote and their location. We checked all the people he had on the list with our records, everyone was eligible. But according to law, we have to send out affidavits, a letter having them to come in and sign an affidavit or attest that they actually live at this location. So just to let everyone know, it's not something that we wanted to do, the clerk office. We didn't want to do it. We had to follow the law. in regards to a challenge that was presented to us. So we got about 100 homeowners that received this letter, 100 voters that received the letter. And if they come to the township office, we can swear them, we can just do a swearing that they live at that town, at that address, and and that'll suffice everything that the mandate describes. So just again, know again that this is not something that we are doing, but it's something that we had to follow the law by sending out the letters to attest.
Okay. Any other board members wishing to make comment? In that case, we have a presentation that I have been giddy about for the last month. I am just excited as all get out about this. SEMCOG's Transportation Alternatives Program is going to give a presentation. Can you guys come on up? Mary Coburn, SEMCOG. Are you here with SEMCOG, Representative Miller? Then why don't you come up on up too, because that money comes from you.
Good evening, Board. My apologies. We're waiting on just a few other members of the SEMCOG team
Well, are they
to arrive.
close? We're waiting, then you know what? Then we're gonna skip you and we're gonna go to Giffords. Okay? We'll go to Giffords, okay? This is another thing that quite frankly, we're pretty excited about. Well, this is our Ford property, presentation, and we have, the, committee has made recommendation for Giffords Webster, who is here to do a presentation to the board before they officially vote for them. Director Coburn, could you take it away?
Thank you, Board. So just a little history on the process, so those in the audience and those watching at home will know how we came to our recommendation. So an RFQ for a consultant for the township property development was issued April 24th to solicit proposals from interested and qualified consulting firms. The RFQ closed on June 2nd, and the township had received 8 proposals. The review committee individually reviewed and scored using the matrix in the RFQ. There were 5 tasks that the consultants were asked to put a proposal together for. That is for, let me see if my memory will serve me correctly, site due diligence and environmental, a market analysis, conceptual plans, the community engagement portion, and then a final document of the RFP put together to solicit developers for the property. And this is for the Ford land, 181 acres, that is at the corner of Belleville and Tyler. So after the review committee reviewed the proposals, we scored them out. The review committee selected the top 4 scoring to move to the finalist interview round. Interviews were held over a 2-day period, and each firm was given a 90-minute time slot and provided an interview agenda. As part of the agenda, they were given 20 to 25 minutes to present their approach and the tasks that were listed in the RFQ. The firm's relevant qualifications and project team, understanding of the township's goals and the 181-acre site context, their approach to the market analysis, site feasibility, environmental due diligence, community engagement and stakeholder input, conceptual development planning, the final deliverables, a timeline and the project management, and any unique strengths, innovations, or added value that their firm would bring. After the interviews, the review committee individually scored each finalist on the following of their team qualifications and experience, understanding of project and site context, the approach to their scope of work, community engagement strategy, innovation and value-added elements, communication and presentation skills, and scenario questions. We had given them a couple of questions to see how they would respond to if a conflict arrived, time management, there was a delay, how they would handle what the market called versus what the community engagement portion was asking for. So the review committee met after scoring and completed a debrief to give each of their thoughts. The score sheets were tallied, and it was a unanimous decision to select Giffords Webster as a recommended consultant to the board, as the consultant for the Township Property Development Project. We also did conduct several 30-minute interviews with their references. So we took the time to make either phone calls or team Zoom meetings and interviewed each of their references about 30 minutes. And those went really well. And it was neat to hear after meeting them and then hearing their references, you can definitely see the matchup and just it really did shine through. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Nancy Standish of Givels Webster. She also has members of the team here as well.
Thanks, Mary. I appreciate the opportunity from the review committee and the board here to present to you with our plan as to how we're going to approach this study. So we have a team of experts that we have gathered who we have worked with quite a bit in the past. My name is Nancy Standish. I'm a partner at Givels Webster. I have over 20 years of experience in both private and public civil engineering and site planning. I have Andy Amont from our planning group. He is a senior planner with our company, and he has over 7 years of experience with community planning, zoning ordinances, and master planning. Jim Epping from J. Epping Partners. Jim has over 30 years of experience in landscape architecture and site planning. Matt Stone Palmquist is here. He is a project manager with Barr Engineering, and he has over 22 years of experience with landscape architecture and as an ecologist. We also have Howard Cohn of the Chesapeake Group on our team. He will be preparing the market analysis and then also working with us on the RFQ. The battery's running low. Battery. And here's a little bit more about our firms that are working on it. You know, we've worked together on many projects in the past, and not only together, but we also have a large array of projects, both private and public, that we've worked on. Here's some team members within our firms who will be working on the project, and I'll turn it over to Jim to talk about the township's vision and goals.
Good afternoon, and thanks again for having us. You know, it's exciting to be here and to have gone through your process up to this point, and frankly, we haven't even started yet, but we've gotten to know a lot about Van Buren Township and the priorities and really the vision. And so what we have done is really worked hard at these early stages, and we hope to go an awful lot further to really understand what your vision means and help you and the community at large dissect it a little bit and really, you know, let's pressure test a couple of these ideas, let's work through it together. And so the ultimate goal as we understand it is to ultimately use this 181 acres to develop a vibrant, mixed-use, you know, vibrant part of the community that ultimately is sustainable economically, sustainable environmentally, works to add to the community. And at the end of the day, we're trying to build a great place, help you continue to build a great place in the township, something that works well, something that the community is really proud of, and ideally works as kind of a Kickstarter to continue the momentum of Van Buren Township. If I do this correctly. What we don't do is just draw pretty pictures and say, boy, wouldn't this be cool? I hope it works. What we try and do is use a strategic process that works, and we take an awful lot of those building blocks to success. We look at connecting pathways within your community and connecting people within your community. We look at some of the environmental standards, and Matt and his team will go through and say, hey, from environmentally, here's some really sensitive areas within this property, and so let's make sure we protect those and actually build on them. Nancy and her team will look at the infrastructure of the community and the utilities and say what can be done responsibly. We'll look at just stakeholder meetings with residents and say, what's important to you from a school board point of view? What's important to you from a senior citizen's point of view, from a young family point of view? And so we take all those inputs and we use those as building blocks. And so we don't end up designing what we want, but we end up designing ideally what you want, but we do it in a responsible way to say, it looks and feels good. I think this is going to work. And so from a market study point of view, from an environmental study point of view, from a utility point of view, but mostly from a family and a community point of view, we help bring that to life. What that is a process, and we'll talk really briefly about our process today, but again, it's looking at the market conditions and saying, what type of dollars can we expect to capture here? What type of value can we expect to see out of this property, both either from a sale point of view to a developer, or over the next 30 years, what is that going to look like in terms of bringing families here, bringing businesses here, and even just bringing activities and sports and different amenities to the township. We look at the evaluation, the environmental evaluation and the due diligence process, so we'll go through all that. We'll spend an awful lot of time with community engagement, and we have special techniques and workshops and processes that we'll use to really try and vet out what is important for the community. Ultimately, our process, and this is part of the process that I'll be really involved with, is it's at the end of the day, we design and we kind of explore ideas through our computers and through the pen and paper and come up with the designs, and we refine with you as a community, reiterate, and we ultimately get to a master plan. Why we're getting there and why I think it's impressive of Van Buren Township is you guys have taken it one step further and say, don't just give us another report that'll sit on a shelf, but help us create an RFP that will be able to go to the development community. And so we'll also help you with regulatory compliance. We know what developers want, what they expect. Give them a predictable path. If I come to Van Buren Township and I build this, they know what they'll be getting into in terms of a partnership with the community. And ultimately, that's going to result in a great project, developer interest, a profit center for the township or the DDA in one regard or another. But at the end of the day, a great new addition to the township. So we're excited to be a part of that. With that, we'll turn it over and just kind of go through the various components quickly, ask any questions that you may have, and set a schedule to move forward. All right.
So with the market analysis, we will be gathering data. So we're going to be, doing research, whatever data is available and easy to research. We're going to be doing a community survey to ask them about, their habits, where they go shopping, so we can get an idea of whether there's needs in the community that would, benefit from having, certain services that the community maybe doesn't offer now. Interviewing stakeholders, such as realtors, institutions, aviation interests, education interests, to see, their point of view of what the needs are in this community. After that, we'll take all the data that we have researched and we'll analyze it. We'll see where there's opportunities that potentially could exist and may fit this property, and what the future looks like as well, and where those opportunities may lie in the future.
So Matt Stone Palmquist, Bar Engineering, Senior Landscape Architect and Ecologist. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the environmental and site due diligence aspects to this project. The first is sort of located there is the wetlands aspect to this. And for this part of it, as part of the team, we're particularly pleased at BAR to be really continuing a conversation with the township. There are portions of this site that we looked at a few years ago in the southeast corner on behalf of the township. So we have some sort of familiarity with the property at large, and look forward to continuing to evaluate that on your behalf. Obviously, environmental features, environmental considerations could be sort of an opportunities and constraints aspect. As Jim mentioned, there's the opportunities piece to that, which is where are those features, those natural features, ecological features on the site that may be items that need to, that could be preserved, enhanced, sort of built into a redevelopment idea. And then I really am getting too close to that microphone. I'm a hand talker, clearly. And then the other side of that are the constraints, and we'll sort of work through, try to identify what those constraints might be and to help sort of identify a pathway through those. So for the wetlands perspective, there's a process of delineating wetlands and then getting the state, which is our primary regulator of wetlands, involved to kind of confirm those wetland boundaries. And with that confirmation process, then you have a very marketable product in terms of moving forward towards eventual development, because that comes along with sort of a state understanding that these are the boundaries and that they will hold to those boundaries for a period of 3 years moving forward. The environmental site assessment piece, that's really about trying to identify any of those sort of legacy issues either on the property or surrounding the property that may impact, maybe some of that part of the constraints that go along with development. Woodlands and trees. As you probably are well aware, you have a very rigorous tree preservation ordinance in this community. So working through, as part of the site development plan, where are those woodland areas that may be in your interests, and you're going to help us define those. Those are areas that are woodlands that you'd like to preserve, that they are of higher quality, that could be worked into a site plan to be part of that. That's all sort of as part of this process. And then the fourth item being threatened and endangered species, both on a federal and state level. There are plant and animal species that are present in this area, present in Van Buren Township. We want to make sure that everything that we're doing is protective of those species, because that is sort of the obligation under those state and federal laws. And if there's if those things need to be sort of mitigated or worked through, that will be part of this process. And that is back to Nancy.
So along with Matt's environmental due diligence, we're going to be doing a site feasibility due diligence study. So we are going to be taking some previously prepared township studies. You have the Belleville Safe Streets and the Belleville Road District studies that were done. We're going to analyze those and see what the intent was for this area and how we can meet the intent of the area, along with the master plan and the zoning ordinance. All that stuff guides the property. We're going to review all that information and be able to analyze it with, potential types of development we could put there, and also look at it as it may be something that, based on our community feedback, our environmental studies, the market analysis, maybe that needs another look at. Is it worth doing some sort of overlay district for this site that may fit the needs that we're discovering? All this is part of building blocks. There's not one of these areas that is going to fully determine the direction of this site and the conceptual design of this site. We're going to take everything in and try and understand what the community wants, what the market wants, what the township wants. So with that, we're going to review that. We're going to review infrastructure mapping to determine if there's the capacity, what capacity is available in your sanitary sewer, in your water system. Look at, stormwater management. Stormwater management is becoming a very big design topic or design direction that, we need to take it all in and understand what development on this site will look like and how we manage the stormwater for the site. In conjunction with the market analysis and with the site and environmental study, we're going to be doing some community engagement, and I'll have Andy discuss that further.
Good evening, Township Board. I'm Andy Amott with Givels Webster. I'm a senior planner. I've worked with the company for about 3 years. Being familiar with master plan processes, zoning ordinance processes, our team is tasked with kind of the community engagement lead with this project. We looked at your public participation plan on the books, and we decided we think using the little workflow in that plan that the involve strategy and the consult strategy should be followed here. The involve pertains to a lot of in-person, face-to-face workshop, open house-like events. And then the consult deals with kind of the surveying, having an ongoing active presence online. And that being said, we kind of split the community engagement of this scope of services to maybe two different categories. One is the ongoing project-long communications. We take pride in having an active online interface with all of our master plan projects. We know that these are usually multi-month processes. It's not great practice to put everything up front to the people and then don't maintain an interface. We want to be active on this webpage. That being said, we will also be launching a community survey that asks very zoomed out, broad level questions pretty early on in this process. And that will help us narrow the scope of what we're looking for in some of our further dedicated community engagement events later on in the process. So right now we're planning for 3 certain events. One is the DDA introductory meeting and mini town hall sessions. That will be at a regular DDA meeting with the town halls to follow. We see there being 3 40-minute town hall sessions that we rotate and go over some very zoomed, high-level visioning items for this property. The public workshops will entail a little bit more narrow surveying and visual preference surveying even. Those will be held after the community survey is so that we have at least some direction based on that general community survey on what we're going to talk about and ask during that workshop. And then we're going to have a final open house before the project concludes in the township board's hands. We want to make sure we are there to answer any questions that came out through the process. A lot of times there's a lot of good in having that final open house because you may have some people there at the public meetings who, may have some level of opposition, but being present, being able to answer questions clearly in a face-to-face level at an open house, we see a lot of value in that. And to our knowledge, it sounds like the township's interested in some of the targeted community group stakeholder workshops as well. Those are more themed workshops aimed towards an audience like a religious group, an industry group or sector, perhaps a business owners group, even the high school student council or student government group. And those are workshops aimed towards a particular audience, which is really helpful. That being said, I will pass it over to Tim.
But everything we've talked about so far is that idea of building these or creating these building blocks, taking the market study, taking the community engagement, which becomes a critical piece, and gives us kind of a whole quiver of weapons to take into our design. We also mix into that just the team's experience, the community's experience, and just kind of this inherent knowledge of our years and years of expertise of what do we really think is going to work? What's the market going to want? What's the right fit for the community? And so we take all those building blocks and we go about designing and iterating with you. We use really a very simple general premise, and that's that there are no bad ideas. It's our job to take those ideas, understand the motivation, and help bring them to light, make them better. We know that this will never be all things to all people, but what is, ultimately that best fit for the township, and what is going to attract that investment for the developers. And so from that design, our goal will be to develop several little iterations and ideas of, hey, you guys mentioned this in a meeting, let's see what that looks like on paper. And so we'll do a lot of quick sketching that ultimately will come up with what we hope will be a master plan that the community can say, yep, that's exactly what we want, and maybe it gets done all at once, maybe it gets done in phases, but we'll look at those trade-offs and those choices and help you work through those to ultimately come up with that plan that then we can take to the market with you and develop or bring those developers and that investment back to Van Buren Township. So with that, I'll let Nancy kind of wrap up our final deliverables, and then we're open for questions. Thank you.
Thanks. So we have two parts of our final deliverables. First will be our site study. It'll be a full report with all of our findings in the site feasibility, the market analysis, the community engagement, as well as our conceptual plan and some of the data behind that. And so that'll be in a single book, easy to understand. And then along with that is the RFP or process for the developers. And, we're proposing kind of an alternative method. Instead of just putting out an RFP, hoping to get so many developers, we're actually going to be doing more of a targeted approach where we analyze, the developers that are out there that, have the resources and the ability to do this. Actually contact them, solicit these bids from them. And then beyond that, review the bids and, provide information to the township to help them make a decision as to which one would be, in our opinion, the best option. And it's just a matter of also reviewing the concept plan, before we can target it. Is it a matter of going after one developer? Or is this, a great enough mix of uses that maybe this is best for two different developers who specialize in different things. So it's really kind of looking at our concept plan and looking at what developers are out there and trying to determine what's the best approach. With this, there's several tasks that can be done at the same time. And then, most of these, again, as Jim mentioned, the building block portion will get completed or mostly completed prior to working on the conceptual design. Everything together, we're looking to take 7 to 8 months to complete. Something we've mentioned before is our strength of, not only working together as a team, but our diverse background on both the public and the private side. We have great relationships with developers, we have great relationships with municipalities, and kind of taking all that experience and being able to combine it all into one cohesive plan, along with the wishes of the community. So, I think that's a great strength that we have, and we're going to be able to leverage it on this project. I appreciate your time and would take any questions that you may have.
Board, do you have any questions? Board? We talked. Clerk Wright?
Don't really have any questions. I would like to, we were given a thorough presentation regarding the process of how you guys were selected. Personally, I'm happy to see a firm like you coming in. I personally like to see some new growth sometime, someone new with new perspectives and ideas coming into the township to give us ideas that we haven't, maybe haven't heard before from this being done elsewhere. So I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see that we're moving forward on that property. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Anybody else? So as everybody here knows, we've always said that we don't know what's going to go there, but we're going to go to the community to find out what they want. And then based upon that, we're going to come up with a shared vision. And we're really excited. I want to thank especially Mary Coburn. Can you step forward and tell me everybody that was on that committee that spent months on this?
Absolutely. So thank you to our review committee. It is Deputy Supervisor Dan Selman, Director of Municipal Services Ron Akers, Director of Public Services Larry Luckett, and our recently former Water Sewer Director Bill Miner, as well as myself. So I want to thank them. It was a joint effort putting everything together, and definitely, we were very pleasantly surprised with the number of proposals that we received, as well as the nice diversity and an actual, the group that each firm put together. So we were really happy with Gibble Webster and just their approach and making sure that they really took a listen and looked into the things with our public and participation plan, knowing that our community engagement portion was going to be very important to us to make sure that we, as Jim had mentioned, the building blocks and phasing it and helping us to have those conceptual plans to be able to give us options. We know it won't be built in a day and it might take several, but as having it phased out with our approach and then the commitment to the community as well, so.
Thank you. I've been around this for a long time, these kind of scenarios, and I was bowled over at how many really first-rate firms came forward to go after this, and I would have been happy with any of them. They're all five-star firms, and your firm has a great reputation, too.
You know, one other thing, I don't get asked a lot of questions by being a board member from this community, but one thing I do get asked a lot is that, when are we gonna do this? When are we gonna see this? When are we gonna see that? So I'm happy to hear that you're gonna have the public engagement so you can get the questions from them and ask to see what they wanna see and see what's feasible. And, it's, you know, just make something, you know, purposely open that they can see and understand that they may want this, but it may not be feasible. But know that we're doing something to make their community more advertising.
All right, we're gonna be moving on then. Is there anything else, Mary, Director?
Yes, if I can just give you next steps and what to expect next. In the next couple of weeks, we'll finalize the scope of work, but we didn't want to wait for you to meet the team so that way you could hear the presentation and that way you weren't asked to make an approval the same day as hearing that. But that way you had an opportunity to meet them, ask questions, but in the next couple of weeks, we'll finalize that and that will hopefully be on your next agenda meeting, August 5th.
Okay, you guys definitely have to approve this, so. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming out.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
For our next presentation, we have SEMCOG coming in, and so SEMCOG come up and Representative Miller. Katie, I'm not gonna let you talk, but you should get up there because you're representing Camilleri, right? Senator Camilleri? Okay. Representative Miller, could, yeah. You have more than just you here, don't you?
Pardon? Yep, we have a few of us here today.
Okay.
So I want to just thank you all and thank you for being here today. Appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you and just recognize, first of all, I know Supervisor, you've been involved with SEMCOG for decades. So
Yeah.
appreciate your support of SEMCOG, the organization. Most recently, Trustee Boynton has been very involved with SEMCOG and currently is co-chairing our freight task force for the region, which doing a great job. So thank you for all the work that you're doing for SEMCOG.
Thank you.
So as you know, SEMCOG is a council of governments. So we have 189 local governments that are members of ours. In addition to being a local membership organization, we have some responsibilities from the federal government as well as the Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO. And in that function, we help facilitate transportation projects across the region. And to the amount of about the newest transportation improvement program is $3.1 billion. So as part of our responsibilities is to be able to help, and it's one of the probably the more fun parts of our job, is facilitate some specialty projects and special grants. And that's the Transportation Alternative Program. And I know we have great support from our state reps and state senators. I would be remiss if I didn't recognize Congresswoman Debbie Dingell. She's always been a huge supporter of the work that SEMCOG does, but also our role federally as the Metropolitan Planning Organization, and this money coming from the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act. So support Congresswoman Dingell and appreciate that. Today, though, we're here to celebrate a TAP award, and a very large one for what we do here at SEMCOG. And this was supported by our Regional Review Committee at SEMCOG. So we have a committee that is made up of elected officials that look at all of the projects that get submitted, and they select the projects that make the most value and meet some of the needs that we have in our region. One of the things we have is a non-motorized plan for our region, and this area of Van Buren Township, for example, was noted as an area that could be enhanced for you have the demand and you need some better pedestrian and bicycle facilities. So you are definitely on our map of an area that would benefit from this. And the Regional Review Committee recognized that. So we're here today to celebrate and present you this check from the Transportation Alternatives Program for the Tyler Road project. And a major point of emphasis in SEMCOG is really improving the safety of our transportation system, especially when it comes to our most vulnerable users, those that walk and bike. And what you are proposing to do is going to give that opportunity to your residents and your visitors to be able to have that opportunity. So we thank you for being proactive, putting in an application, and looking out for your residents and for your visitors. So with that, I want to just say congratulations, and if you want to do a picture and
Do a picture.
say, and you want to say a few words,
This is a
please.
big deal here.
Hello, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be home in my township, Van Buren Township. I know firsthand, not only as a state rep, but also serving on the township board for 10 years, how important it is to have all levels of government working together. As most of you know, Debbie Dingle said last year when we had the opening of the community center, this is good government in action. This is another example, and we thank Congresswoman Dingle for all her hard work. And I thank all of you and all the people behind the scenes that made this happen. It is not an easy process, but it is one that is going to bring such great value to Van Buren Township, with Tyler Road being a connection here, a corridor for families and people who walk and bike. So I am so pleased that we're here to celebrate. We are celebrating this big win here for Van Buren Township. And that's a thank you to all of you for all the work that each and every one of you do every day. So congratulations, Van Buren Township. And thank you, SEMCOG. You're amazing. I appreciate you.
Okay, we would love to get a picture with that big check. The check back here, what?
No, we set up the backdrop in the lobby that has the Van Buren Township logo, photos.
Okay.
That's what
You want us to go all the way over there?
it's just right in the corner when you got this.
Right in the corner.
Okay. The time I spent
Buddies.
arguing with you, I've learned this from my wife. Just do it.
Not my orders.
No problem.
Picture.
I was wrong.
Yeah, you were. But that's okay, you owe.
You didn't unlock the door, so I don't know what you need.
I came to save you. I thought you were still out there. I didn't see you.
Oh, no, I won't. Go get it.
You need a massage.
don't think you are. That would not be the word. Okay, so we have never gone out of motion, so we are moving forward. Unfinished business, gentlemen, we have none, and ladies. New business, we are moving on. Discussion is a second reading of an ordinance, which is a zoning ordinance to create a zoning regulations for the battery energy storage systems. Can somebody read that out loud as a second reading? Trustee Martin.
I make a motion to consider approval of the second reading of ordinance 07-01-25, 1, which is a zoning ordinance amendment to create zoning regulations addressing battery energy storage systems.
Support by Boynton. I heard Boynton, I thought. Okay, so I've got a motion and I've got a second. All right, Director Akers.
Thank you. This is the second reading of the proposed ordinance, so we've discussed it at a previous meeting. I have nothing additional to add, but
Go over it real quick.
questions.
Just go.
So the zoning
public.
ordinance amendment for battery energy storage systems is intended to add standards for for a particular type of land use called a battery energy storage system. These types of developments, they have shipping container sized batteries, and a lot of times they're put adjacent to power corridors, high voltage transmission lines where they buy and sell back power. Some of these type of battery storage systems can also be placed on site on certain properties, like if the user wants to use it as a type of backup generator. So we consider them as on-site, off-site. Our zoning ordinance did not have any regulations regarding this. So we wanted to make sure that we adopted some, so that way, as developments come forward, we're better prepared. The state of Michigan changed the renewal, they adopted in 2023 a renewable energy siting law, which gave the Michigan Public Services Commission the authority to cite certain renewable energy systems like these battery energy storage systems or very large wind or solar panel energies without municipal approval. And by adopting these ordinance standards, it puts us into compliance with that law, so we have more control over how these sites develop and are designed in our community.
Thank you. Does anybody on the board have any questions? Hearing none, I've got a motion by Trustee Martin and supported by Trustee Boynton. It is a second reading. Clerk, you'll need to call the roll.
All right. Trustee Kelly?
Yes.
Trustee Boynton? Yes. Trustee Martin?
Yes.
Trustee Frazier? Yes. Me, Treasurer Bud?
Yes.
Supervisor?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We're on to the next item, which is discussion or approval of a second reading of another ordinance. Can I get somebody to make that motion? Clerk Wright?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 07-01-25, parentheses 2, which is a zoning ordinance amendment to allow adequate spacing for motor vehicle fueling stations.
Support.
Support by Trustee Kelly. Director Akers.
This ordinance amendment does two things. First, it changes the land use designation of gasoline or automotive filling stations to motor vehicle fueling stations. As the board knows, that there's more electric cars on the road, and some of those fueling stations are fueling up electric cars, just not automotive and gas engines. So we changed the definition of that, and then the more significant item that this zoning ordinance amendment does is it adds a 1/4 mile separation distances between gas stations. They're concerned with the proliferation of too many gas stations all in one area with traffic and other concerns, and what this does is it provides some spacing to ensure that those negative issues don't occur at intersections within the township. So that concludes my summary. I'm happy to answer any remaining questions.
Any other questions? It's a second reading. I'm sorry. It's a second reading. I have a motion by Clerk Wright, supported by Trustee Kelly. Hearing no further discussion, Clerk Wright, would you call the roll?
Yes, that would be a yes for me. Treasurer Bud?
Yes.
Trustee Frazier?
Yes.
Trustee Martin?
Yes.
Trustee Boynton? Yes. Trustee Kelly?
Yes.
Supervisor?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Thank you. Moving on, we're going to report, moving on, we're going to line item number 3. Treasurer Bud, could you make a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the recommendation from the township attorney regarding pending litigation.
Support.
Okay, I've got a motion, I've got support, hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This motion passes. Moving forward, we have reports, we have none. Public comment for non-agenda items. Does anybody from the public wish to get up and speak on a non-agenda item? Come forward, right over there, you're on TV.
Hello, council. Everyone else.
Name.
I was a resident of Van Buren for the last 3 years, from 22 to 25, right down here on Chatsworth Drive. Can you hear me?
I can.
I resided with my son, who has a 9-year-old black Labrador retriever and a beautiful little 6-year-old cat. Cat's been shot twice. The dog is not being taken care of by my son. I've been fighting with the township for the last month and a half to get custody of her. I put over $30,000 into her in the last 2 years. I know her medical issues. She's a beautiful dog. She's 9 years old. I've asked everybody pretty much in this township for help. I ran into Kevin at Speedway. Was it Thursday, Kevin, or was it Friday? Does it matter? Do you need the date? Politely initiated a conversation with him. He's had conversations with me over the phone, and I will be the first to admit I have a very short temper. It's been a month and a half. This dog is suffering. I know she's suffering because she's been suffering for the past 8 years. I no longer reside in Van Buren Township. My son threw me out. Another long story. He threw me into a good situation. However, Abby, this beautiful English black lab, is not being cared for. Talk to you. Do I look different with a hat on? I can take it off.
No, you're fine.
We're fine.
My conversation with Kevin. I can't do anything for you, Marlene Jones. There's 7 people at the township against you. 7 against 1. Give up. This dog needs to be put to sleep. Really, Kevin? Who's the 7 people that says this? And what are their credentials? Can you answer that? Can you tell me the 7 people in this township that says Abby needs to be put to sleep and why?
Answer that I said 4, and I can't answer that, but I will later.
And trust me, I'm so tired of arguing with people, I don't remember much. Who were the 4 people, Kevin?
You have 5 minutes, and then after 5 minutes, then I will actually say that, but I don't want to take away your time.
How much time do I have?
You have 5 and about 3 left.
For an answer from you.
Chief of Police, Deputy Chief of Police, the head of ordinance, Lieutenant Floro, and the animal controller officer.
I spoke with Floral yesterday. He said he didn't tell you that.
He did it in writing.
Can I have a copy of that?
I don't
As soon
see
as
why.
this meeting is over?
Actually, it's freedom of information, so sure. No, I will send it to you tomorrow. I'm not going back and redoing it. Actually, I can give it to Rosemary too, because it's freedom of information once they write it.
Board? Can you tell me if the chief of police and any other people that are on this paper have the credentials to say whether or not a dog needs to be put down? I've paid over $30,000 in vet bills. I've talked to a lot of veterinarians. I've talked to a lot of specialists. Does the chief have higher credentials, more intelligence, more education than an orthopedic surgeon does? Veterinarian internist?
Go ahead and wrap up now, please. And then I will answer.
Thank you. considering. If you have an animal at home, you know how much I love this dog. I'm not backing down. I'm trying to do this the right way.
Okay, so, Marlene, first of all, there's obviously a love of that dog by you, obviously. You obviously very deeply care for the dog. You've discussed this with our people here in our township hall, and I'm not underestimating 12 times, probably more. It has been investigated multiple times, and I did ask for a synopsis on it. And Officer Quina has inspected Abby as well as her living conditions. Officer Queener has determined that Abby, the dog, is an older animal with numerous health conditions. She is well-fed, cared for, and in good living conditions both inside and outside the residence. Abby is an inside dog with access to a fully gated yard through a two-way door that leads to the outside. She has access to fresh food and water at all times. He goes on to talk about the fact that the owner wishes to allow her to live out her final years that way.
Abby's on a special diet. She does not have access to food at all times. My son usually
Okay, so I will also say this, based upon our officers' review of the situation, your only reconnaissance would be through through a court, because we are not taking the dog away from your son. This is Lieutenant Floro's report. His stuff is in it also.
because he is Bob Queener's boss.
Correct.
She needs to be at the microphone.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak before this board today? Hearing none, is there any board members that wish to make comment today?
Yes.
Clerk Wright?
I don't know what all that was about, but I personally I would like to thank Mayor Coburn for putting this grant in that we just got approved the money for. As you guys know, I've been advocating for something on Tyler Road forever, and I'm just so happy to see that. First of all, we're getting sidewalks, and now we're getting this award, and it's going to be able to do something for the residents. I think that's going to be, well, I don't think it's going to be. It is the main living quarters corridor, other than Belleville Road. That's where most of our homes are located now, on Tyler Road. We have a lot of individuals who walk through Tyler Road, ride the bikes in the middle of the streets. It's very, right now it's not walkable or it's not mobile. And it's just happy to see that this is going to happen. I think it's going to bring a great amenity to the township and to our area, and a good connection with what we are proposing tonight, also with the acreage across the street. So just happy. I'm happy to see this happening. You don't know how happy I am to see this, especially with me doing my term still with the township. I'm happy to see that these things are being done. Very pleased with our board. I couldn't be more pleased to work with a more active, engaged board that I am working with now. Thank you, Don Borden, for your participation with SimCard and your persuasion of whatever you had to do with it. Appreciate it. Just happy to be able to work with a board that actually is doing some things with the township, and especially in this phase of my career. I'm just happy to see it.
Yeah, and thank you, Mary Colburn, because we tried 2 or 3 times to get this. We actually started 3 years ago, I think, trying this, and then last year we tried it a couple times. We reinvigorated our SEMCOG attitude with Don Boynton coming in, Dan Salmon backing him up. We don't miss a meeting. We go to their executive meetings, and after we got kind of denied a few times, we pretty much did a face-to-face presentation, if you want it, and they really came through big time. And thank you, Mary. Thank you, Don. Thank you, board, because you guys told us to go fix those sidewalks, and so we went looking for money. So, yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. All right, then I call for adjournment. Can I have a motion?
Moved.
So moved by Boynton, Kelly, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. All right.